embrace the possibilities.
Let's make the future for 360 film.
I think we should do our cities and buildings differently.
This is my message. Think.
Development for me means increase in complexity.
It's a simple addition for a designer, but it saves a lot of time in practice.
Why is the resident not so clever?
So this could be interesting for you as well.
2 years ago, me and my girlfriend were invited by an owner to come over to Monaco to join them on a day trip along the coast. And while we were there, my girlfriend asked me what the difference was between all these yachts in the harbor. And it's good to know she doesn't know anything about yachting. So I did my best and tried to explain with all my knowledge of yacht design what the difference was between all these yachts which were there in the harbor. And after 10 minutes of explaining, she just replied back to me and said, yeah, that's nice, but they all look the same. Well, honest of course. So afterwards, we went our own way and drove along the coast to Portofino. And along the way, you see all these beautiful yachts laying at the anchors. And for me, as a yacht lover, that's really cool to see. But I got no response from the other side of the car. And when we were close to Portofino, we drove around the corner and bam, there was motor yacht A laying for anchor. And she immediately responded, whoa, what is that? And why don't you design something more like this? Well, that's a good question. Why don't we design more unique vessels? And why do yachts look so alike? And for me it's an intriguing question, because I really love to design out-of-the-box concepts. But to make these concepts reality, we need first owners who are open for this, but more importantly, we need innovation that drives these new designs. And the former head of design of BMW, Chris Bengal, said to us that the only way to change the automotive industry is when somebody finds a new technology to produce them or a new way to drive them. Otherwise, it's just a variation in styling. And isn't that with everything? So, if you look at the history, when Henry Ford first built the first assembly line built car, his goal wasn't to build a beautiful car, but a car that was cheap enough so that everybody could own one. This not only changed the automotive industry, but it changed the world completely. And another pioneering innovation that changed our perspective on the world was the use of an all-steel skeleton framing inside buildings. Because before that, we were only able to build buildings up to 6 stories high. And now we can build buildings and the sky is no limit. And another great innovation was the wind tunnel. And it gives us good understanding of the effects of wind on certain objects. And in the beginning of the 20th century, when the big recession took place, big railroad companies needed to reduce costs. So they shaped the trains in a more aerodynamic way, and with that it changed the design completely of the locomotive. This new design was greatly adapted by designers all over the world. And just before the war, the Eames couple invented a way of producing shaped plywood, and after the war they were able to create this striking new design, which was then a new standard for furniture design. And war gives us new ideas, and it increases the amount of innovations rapidly, because in wartime there's no need for an innovation to be economically viable, and it gives us revolutionary ideas, like the jet engine. Because in the war, the Germans were the first to implement this technology, and they were miles ahead of their competition. But the technology came too late to make a huge impact on the war. But it's revolutionized the civil airspace completely. Of course, you don't always have to be in a war. The willing to win is just enough. Take a look at the race to the moon. It brought us a lot of new innovations that we are still using in our daily lives today. And we should encourage these kind of races, because the amount of budget and the rewards are big enough so that these innovations are viable. Only look at how foiling boats changed the world of sailing in the last 2 years. And most of the innovations start small. It's mostly a happy accident where one thing leads to another, and so on and on. And before you know, it becomes a big innovation, and it's big enough that it's disruptive enough to shock the world and bring it off balance. And we should embrace the possibilities what these new innovation brings, because it's too easy to just produce the same product in a slightly different manner. We should see the possibilities of the innovations and we should embrace them. And in the near future, we see a lot of new innovations that can really shock our world and change the way we live our daily lives today. Like the autonomous vehicle, it will change the way we go to work, it will change the way how we drive, and it will give us a lot of more time to do things which were otherwise not possible. And another great example is 3D printing. For me and my colleagues, 3D printing will really change yacht design completely. It's a great innovation that we should embrace so that we can engineer and design the boats of the future. And innovation, no matter how small, can lead to something really big. So please don't stop innovating, so me and my colleagues have the right tools to create better boats in less time and have the opportunity to create the design fantasies of today, the reality of tomorrow. Thank you very much.